Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to our action research presentation, everyone. We are the shared goal professional learning community from Byambatsogt, South Gobi Province, Mongolia. We are here to share our action research with you. Our action research is named, as you can see on the screen, Shared Development, promoting shared lesson plans to enhance professional development. So 4 of us are euphoric to join this TESOL conference. So this is our very first experience to share our experience based on our action research with international professionals. You may wonder that who these people are. So let us introduce ourselves. So me, I am Nomintal Byambatsogt. Feel free to call me Mrs. Nomi. Our next co-presenter is Damdin-Shared. Feel free to call her Mrs. Davka. Next, our presenter, Myagmarsuren. You can call her Mrs. Tamira. Last but not least, our presenter is Damdin. You can call her Mrs. Joka. So welcome to our action research presentation. Mrs. Chuka is responsible for covering research context, literature review, and research questions. Mrs. Davka is covering research participants, research methods, and data analysis. I am responsible for showing you the discussion result. Mrs. Temra is covering the conclusion, also overall conclusion and practical implications for the future and our references. Now, I'm going to welcome to the screen our next presenter, Mrs. Chuka.
Thank you, Mrs. Nomi. And I'm responsible for part of the research context, and which is Mongolia. And as you know, that Mongolia is the landlocked country, which is bordered with Russia and China. And it was actually part of the Soviet Union. So after the collapse of the Soviet Union, English started being taught as a secondary school, and it became a compulsory subject at all secondary schools in Mongolia in 1996. And at that time, Mongolian secondary schools urgently needed English teachers. Therefore, over 800 Russian teachers retrained within a year. And also from that, and we also, of course, English teachers are prepared for this purpose. And main development mostly responsible by Institute of Teachers Professional Development Center. And this center builds training for in-service and secondary school teachers. Apart from that, and from the last year, English for All program initiated and conducted by Educational Research National Institute. And this institute runs summer intensive training and online course and teacher development workshops for English teachers. And the reason why they are running that summer intensive course is because most teachers during the academic year, they couldn't able to go to the provincial city centers or cities because of the isolated areas. So, General Authority for English Education promoted to build the professional learning communities in the schools. As a result, teachers can have access to develop themselves professionally at the workplace and while they are teaching classes. And another interesting report by UNESCO 2017, there is a gap between policy and practice. Teachers tend to focus on preparing for national graduation tests and Olympiads rather than applying student-centered approaches in Mongolia. And Here you have seen that our formal classroom layout in our rural area, and it's one of them. And after we applied our student-centered approach, it have changed. You're gonna see later. And from the literature review, it said that professional learning communities are considered as an effective way of improving teachers' professional knowledge so that students' learning outcomes could increase. And also, this is considered as a successful in changing teacher beliefs and practices. And so we created this professional learning community voluntarily, and teachers also joined this community voluntarily. That's the also important thing, essential factor in our professional learning community. And the main theory of this research is based on social cultural theory by Vygotsky. As you know, this theory focuses on how mentors and peers influence individual learning, but also how cultural beliefs and attitudes affect how learning takes place. And therefore, we focused on two main research questions. And after we built these professional learning communities, what are the benefits and challenges of shared lesson plan, which created by the teachers in this community? And the second one, what are the changes in teachers' beliefs and practices? And now let's welcome me next co-presenter, Mrs. Stauka. She's gonna cover research participants, methods, and data analysis.
Thanks, Mrs. Choka. Okay. In terms of research participants, the research was conducted by among the 11 English teachers and 2 schools in Kibi-son, which is located 750 kilometers away from capital city of Mongolia. In terms of participants, 3 teachers are founder of Shared Goal PL's community who are graduated from educational masters in Australia. Our Shared Goal PLC was founded 2020 in October, and all participants joined voluntarily our PLC. In terms of participant demographic, the majority of teachers joined our PLC community more than 12 months, and 27% of within 6 months, and 18% of teacher participants 6 to 11 months joined in our PLC community. In terms of age, the majority of participants are middle-aged, and 73% of participants have worked with more than 5 years teaching experience. Okay, and we conducted qualitative action research our Shared Goal PLC. The research data was covered for 58 weeks. Data collected through pre and mid and post interviews with teacher participants conducted by founder who work as a mentor in our Shared Goal PLC. Some of the data were collected from our Facebook story of Shared Goal PLC, as well as PLC meetings. Once we found our PLC communities, we schedule our meeting once a week. Our participant teacher meetings are just our PLC meetings. We meet once a month. It's very important to schedule meetings because we have to manage our teacher participants and mentor teachers' workload. In terms of student feedback, students have asked written feedback end of the term. total of six term data was collected from students. Also, we pre and post interview conducted students who with slow learners or students with reluctant learners to English subjects and class participations. And our data were thematically analyzed. Now let's welcome our next co-presenter, Mrs. Nomi, and she's gonna present research main findings as well as discussion.
Thank you, Mrs. Stavka. Yes, according to our main findings, let's first focus on pre-implementation interview results. Well, all the 11 teachers bravely revealed that they had this limitation to grow themselves professionally, personally, and this limitation was only within the annual and government-based training sessions, such as 1st, 5th, and 10th training sessions. And all of these annual sessions tended to be purely instruction-based, in other words, teacher-based. As a result, the teachers didn't notice or didn't see any gigantic progress within themselves as professionals. One of our teachers even advised that, as you can see on the screen, I never had a chance to develop myself professionally. We English teachers worked independently, which means we did our lesson planning alone. That created pressure and confusion, whether we did well or not. As we can see that, yes, working alone is kind of pressure from the top. And then there is no clue that how much progress we are making all alone. During the implementation of our shared lesson planning, all the teachers were happily divulged that, oh yeah, I am seeing progress within myself, because in order to do our lesson planning, we work hard and then we work collaboratively to get better. That's why we see authentic progress and growth as professionals and individuals. As we can see on the screen, Ted, one of our teachers, Teacher E, disclosed that through shared lesson planning, I was allowed to have quality me time in which I have learner-centered continuous professional development and self-growth sessions. Also, when it's my turn to do the lesson planning, I do research and put effort to make the lessons as engaging and effective as possible. Yep, to conclude this direct quote from the teacher, we could see that when it's your or our turn to do the lesson planning, there is no way to put our effort down or take some time or be lazy, yeah, but to make everything like professional, to do some research and then try to the best to make that lessons engaging. So that's why this was kind of the key to continuously grow themselves as professionals in terms of our during implementation interview results, also social interactive platforms and observations. However, 3 of our 11 teachers disclosed that it was at the beginning kind of challenging to join the PLC because they tended to think themselves like lower contributors or lower professionals than the other teachers. That's why they tended to keep their distance from the community. In terms of our post-implementation outcomes, it is so effulgent that all the teachers happily shared they saw concrete example of their great example of lessons because they tried their best to make the lessons as productive as possible, as shared previously. And then even one of our teachers shared that I've grown enormously, that I have improved my teaching methodology by overcoming my teaching boundaries despite having an 18-year of teaching experience. I've also gotten better at my speaking skills, which I had needed to make progress in particular. Well, I would like to be part of this PLC in the future, regardless of my new career. And then she was so kind to show her tears of joy and then tears of the bottom of her heart that she was so much bonded with this PLC. And then she never want to be a distant part of this PLC, always be the internal part of this community. Also, the student result showed that all the teachers had become one of their favorite teachers, and then their teaching practices had become purely student-based, and then they felt that they had this authority and power to choose their options to create their own knowledge. And all the teachers also shared that their teaching practices had been transformed into task-based, game-based, and communicative and critical pedagogy methods. Also, even two of our teachers shared that they had made their decision to join our PLC community from faraway places because of this best experience of Shared Goal PLC, and in particular, Shared Lesson Planning Program. Now, I would like to invite to the screen our final presenter, Mrs. Temra. Please share our action research conclusions and practical implementations in the future.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Nami. And in terms of my part is conclusion of our action research. Overall, as mentioned before, it has been a year and a half since 11 teachers worked together in these two schools. The research questions of the study reveal the following results. The question 1 about a shared lesson plan. Each teacher learns each other, and teaching methods and diverse lesson plan ideas. Most importantly, teachers' development directly affects learners' achievement. Our lesson plan became very productive, interactive, and student-centered. We realized that collaborative lesson planning has many advantages for teachers, such as developing their own methodology and learning from others and saving time working with paper. And question 2, changes in teachers' beliefs and practices. Our teachers have made a lot of changes in attitude and beliefs during this period. Our teaching philosophy has changed. Each teacher respects others, keeps time, and improves our engagement. We got to know our students better and have been teaching the lessons in an interesting way. Realizing that every student's learning style is different, we began teaching our classes massively, not for only strong students. Actually, we receive written feedback from the students at the end of each term. The result of our work showed that the most of the comments say that through the English lessons, they can discover themselves. They love English and they learn to express themselves to others. And also we have been attracted, self-motivated and skilled teachers to the school workforce. And overall conclusion, volunteer mentor teacher initiated PLC and voluntarily joining in the team led teachers to have internal motivation, which is a significant factor work as a team with a shared goal. Therefore, mentor teachers' passion and persistence is the most substantial part of sustainability of PLC. As a result, the teachers have been inspired by the mentor teachers. One of them has already become the lead teacher in our PLC. Moreover, voluntarily founded PLC could be the source of skilled and motivated teachers in the schools by sharing and showing professional growth. And within this action research, it is recommended, according to practical implications, that firstly, we need to find potential and internally motivated mentor teachers. And secondly, we should create external support and motivation by school administration. And then we need to have volunteer mentor teacher initiated. And it's useful to create a bond among the PLC members. And next, we should schedule PLC meetings regularly, then sharing achievement with other PLCs. And lastly, it is essential to promote and share the results with the government authorities. And as Mrs. Choka mentioned before, this is our renovated classroom sponsored by our local authorities. It's nice. And we haven't accepted our work as a punishment, but accepted our PLC meetings as an intellectual investment in ourselves and valuable time spent on ourselves, which made it possible to do our work more happily. The change and renovation of our classroom has also brought great comfort and satisfaction in doing work happily. In conclusion, it's clear from the action research that happy teachers make happy students and learning process becomes more productive. Thank you for your time and attention. This is our reference list if you got to know some information. Thank you so much.
Thank you. لا screenshot